Hello, everybody, and welcome to Books in Hindsight. I am author Matthew Hines, and today we're going to have a great guest. We're having Keri, and I want to make sure I get this right, from New Shelves Books in New York. Now, Keri's going to come on, and she's going to have a lot of advice for authors. She's going to talk about her company and the services that they offer. And I can tell you from my own experience, from my own self-publishing, that these services are not only invaluable, they're almost required today. And if you don't want to spend a lot of time grinding wheels and hitting your head against a wall doing things that may or may not work as far as marketing goes, these companies are really worth taking a look at. So without further ado, let's bring Keri out. Let's go to the phones.
Welcome to Books in Hindsight, the only podcast where hindsight is always 2020. And we explore the great books, works, and ideas of the century. Now, here's your host, teacher, and author, Matthew Hines.
All right, so welcome back. This is Books in Hindsight, and if you are new to the podcast, and probably a lot of people are, we are offering advice, and of course, we're offering exposure to new authors. Now, we know that it's very difficult to get published these days, and we know that it's a very competitive market and world, and so to help out some of you new authors, and I certainly could have used her help a few years ago. We're going to bring on Keri, and I want to make sure I get this right, so you don't Google a carpenter or something. Her company is New Shelves Books. Actually, she'll tell us a little bit about what she does, but she's with New Shelves Books, and they offer a number of services to new and seasoned authors. So Keri, welcome to Books in Hindsight.
Hi Matt, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, Keri, well, let's just cut to the chase very quickly. Our listeners want a lot of our listeners are writers, people who want to be writers, and they want to know, well, there's a lot of things happening in the publishing world right now, and I was looking at your website, and your website is newshelves.com, and I was looking at it and I was amazed at how much information is on that, because I am not in touch with the publishing world, and there was a big thing on there that I saw, that Createspace, which if you're a self-publishing author, that is where your print books come from. Createspace is going away, so we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. But Keri, would you just describe your company, your philosophy, where you're at, and what kind of things that you offer to authors?
Sure. So New Shelves is a company that was started by our CEO, Amy Collins. Amy was a book buyer. She's been in publishing, and she's been in book marketing and sales for over 20 years. And she started a company largely by herself, offering advice for marketing and consulting for authors, be it large or small. Mostly indie publishers, self-published authors. And what we do at New Shelves is just simply to help get those authors out in the world and actually help them market properly. And Amy, as I said, she started the business by herself, and then about a year and a half ago, she just realized she was way too busy. She couldn't keep everything on her plate. We work with a lot of contractors, and we happened to connect. We live in the same area, and we really hit it off. And so I ended up coming on as her marketing director, and it's been, that's all she wrote. We get along really well, and we work off of each other's strengths and weaknesses. She's the face. Amy's very well known in self-publishing and in marketing, and so she's the face out there. And usually I'm the busy bee in the office doing a lot of the behind-the-scenes work.
Well, okay, so where's Amy now? I looked on your website, and she travels a lot. She's like the traveling Wilburys. So where's Amy at now?
She does. Amy right now is at the Florida Writers Conference, and she's speaking there. And she's just all over. Just in the last year alone, she's spoken in Las Vegas. She's spoken in Dublin, in Atlanta. She kind of moves all over, and that's a big part of what she does is speaking. So she's just out there making connections with authors, be it larger groups, smaller groups. She's always happy to go out and speak to them and bring publishing in a very basic way. I think sometimes publishing is thought of as this big giant that no one can get into, and there are a lot of tools out there that self-publishers and indie markets can really take advantage of to be successful, and they need them, because if you don't use those opportunities, then you're going to have a book on Amazon that has one review and goes nowhere, and that's not what we want for people. We want people to really shine.
Yes, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners, hopefully not a whole lot of them, but can relate to that one review. I actually have one book out there now that Amy. I'm sorry, Keri. I could have used you, and I'm going to say this right from the beginning to everybody that is thinking of publishing or recently published or is wondering why your books aren't moving the way you want them to, because when you publish, and I'm sure a lot of you know this, and if you don't know this, then you're probably going about it the wrong way, but self-publishing, you become basically your own accountant, your own tech guy, your own social media, and there's just not enough hours in the day to do things, so you have to make this decision about time is money, and I'm sure that when you count the hours that, say, somebody like me has spent doing things like I have YouTube channels. I've done just about everything that you could think of to promote my books, and I've been reasonably successful in some ways, but in other ways not. And if there was some way to just cut the time down, and just basically you'd probably be. So, well, tell us first of all, are you a literary agency?
No, not at all. We're not an agency. We're not a literary agency. We don't sell manuscripts. We aren't a PR firm. Right. What we do is we help train authors to effectively market their books. We have programs that actually tells authors how to market, what book buyers are looking for, what libraries are looking for. And that's what we do. We also do Facebook and social media ads, Amazon ads. We also do some review programs. We do a lot of bookstore and library mailings where we actually have authors send in their information, and we've built a relationship with bookstores and libraries. And so we send out our recommendations to them. So if someone signs up for a mailing, we check to make sure, because if my name's on it, I'm not going to tell a bookstore, this book is great, you really should buy it, if it doesn't have the correct discount. If it, let's say it's got a Createspace Isbn, you can't sell to a bookstore. For one, you can't get your discount low enough in Ingram, which is the wholesaler the bookstore wants. But for two, that's like asking someone from KFC to walk over to Wendy's to buy a piece of chicken. They're not going to do it. So it's very important to us that you only market to the market that you are really set up for, because otherwise your name becomes something that isn't trusted. And so that's part of what we do also, is letting people know, hey, you're really not set up for bookstores. But libraries don't mind a 25% discount, so why don't we try there? And so that's part of what we do is in our consulting, is making sure that books are really poised to do well in the market they're being sent to.
I wish I would have talked to you a long time ago, Keri. All right, so let's go back to this. And you keep talking about, you've covered like about half my questions already, so we're just going to keep coming back to some of these topics, but let's talk about Createspace. What is going on with Createspace?
So Createspace is going away. We've seen it coming for a while, and it was announced just a couple months ago that Createspace is going away. But all that's really happening is that it's being absorbed into KDP. The printers are staying the same, except for if you're In Europe, they have printers there, but the printers are staying the same. The cost per book is roughly still the same to print. You can still get KDP assigned ISBNs. You could get it from Createspace. I don't recommend that, by the way, but you can. And you can still your ebooks through KDP, which has been the process for a really long time. So not much has changed. The most that people will see changing is that the payment schedule for royalties is changing a bit. For Createspace, you would get paid for your September royalties. You would get paid in October. For KDP, your September royalties are paid out in November. So it's about another 30 days wait. But otherwise, there's really not many changes. And it's actually very convenient to have everything in one spot to where you don't have to have a Createspace and a KDP account. Now it's just all rolled into one.
Well, yeah, that is true. You know, thank you for clarifying that, because when I saw it, I said, oh my gosh, everything's going into digital now. And how are people going to be able to read print books and get information? So, well, that's good to hear. So I want to tell you one thing that, you know, where I think your services would have come in very valuable for myself is that I did that thing about the ISBNs for, I originally published and I got Bowker ISBNs for my Createspace books. And then after a couple of years, somebody said somewhere that, oh no, you have to have Createspace ISBNs. So I changed to Createspace. And the reason they said that is because on Amazon it said you won't be in the libraries unless you're in you have a Createspace number. So I spent all that money on these Bowker ISBNs, and then I ended up not even using them. And now, from what you say, what Amazon is saying is not exactly correct.
Well, here's the thing: is a KDP or Createspace, they offer a free ISBN, which to someone who's already spent a lot of money on proofing, on editing, on cover design, a free ISBN, that sounds great. But it's got strings attached. If you take their ISBN, they own the rights to your book with that ISBN, which means that you can't then go upload to Ingram Spark because you don't own that ISBN. So what they're doing is they are putting you up on Amazon with their ISBN, which is, they buy it from Bowker. It's gotten the same way, it's just through another channel. Right. So they give you this ISBN, they get you up on Amazon, but then the problem is that they have something called expanded distribution, and that is a little button you can click, and they say, oh, we'll get you into libraries, no problem. And what it is they are then taking your book with their ISBN and they're uploading it to their Ingram Spark account, which gets you up on the Ingram wholesale that's for a lot of bookstores and libraries. It's one of the top 5 wholesalers, along with Bigger and Taylor, Brodart. And a lot of people use them. A lot of bookstores and libraries will use Ingram. But because KDP is doing that for you, they're setting the discount, and it's only what they agree to. So your discount that ends up going through Ingram is 25%. Bookstores require 40%. So if you're interested in bookstores, you don't have a chance. And that's part of the problem, is that they have all of the control, which is why I always recommend go to Bowker, get your own ISBNs. You can put your own published work with your own ISBN up on Createspace, up on KDP. And you should have one for your ebook and for your print books. And if you get them up on KDP through Amazon that way, great. Now there's a second step. Instead of letting KDP put your book up on Ingram Spark, you want to go sign up for a free account and get your own book up on Ingram Spark. And that allows you complete control to where you're making all of the royalties in full. And you can also set your discounts. You can set when it's available, any updates and things like that. So it's 2 separate accounts, which seems like more work, but in the end it's worth it because it gives you control of your published work.
All right, Keri, that is a lot of information. It's also great information, and I don't know what you charge for what your services, but just the money I would have saved from, I think I was paying $100 or something for each ISBN. So I don't know what you guys charge for your services, but yeah, so now I think I'm back to the Amazon ISBNs. And so that's very interesting to know, but I want to know more about Ingram Spark because I've never heard about it. And this is a lot of information, so we're gonna just go back over this one more time because it's very difficult. Everybody out there who's published is probably going, okay, I need to write this down.
Right, as fast as you can.
So yeah, let's talk about Ingram Spark. What is that?
So Ingram Spark is a back end to get your book into Ingram wholesalers. It is, they have the same last name. They both have Ingram in them, but it's two separate entities. It's a family name, but one part of the family owns and runs Ingram Spark, which is for authors, publishers getting their book in to the wholesaler Ingram. And Ingram is a wholesaler that works with bookstores, libraries, to offer discounted books. And it's still print on demand, just like KDP. So you don't have to run, you're not doing offset printing or anything crazy like that. You just have a separate account. And Ingram Spark, of course, takes their cut before sending it on to Ingram.
Okay,
So,
Keri, just so that I understand, and hopefully if I understand, everybody else does. So when I'm sending this to Ingram Spark, this is a Bowker ISBN, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, you must have a Bowker ISBN.
Okay, go ahead.
And you can get those right from myidentifiers.com. They come in, a lot of times you can do like one single one, which is much more expensive than to get a pack of 10. I think it's like $300. And if you are using an ISBN for every edition of your book, which you should, if you've got an ebook, a print book, and an audio book, they should all have different ISBNs. Write 3 books and you've used up that pack of 10 very easily. So it's certainly worth it to look at the pricing in bulk for ISBNs.
Okay, so as a writer, I have to make a decision now. Is it going to be Gimbels or Macy's? Is it going to be Amazon, or is it going to be Ingram Spark? So what should I do? I mean, a Createspace, should I just, okay, because Amazon is telling you, I have the little box memorized that this is how you get your, it looks like a bank front, or official government building. This is how you get your books into libraries. And so who do I believe? What's going to be more advantageous for me? And I'm just, for my listeners, we're talking about either a Bowker ISBN or just picking up one from Createspace, which I believe they're still free on Amazon?
Right. They are, as far as I know, they're still free. And here's the thing. KDP, when they tell you on their little box that this is how you get into libraries, that's true. But they've left out, that's how you get into libraries through them. So it's not the only way to get into libraries.
Okay.
It is just the way that they give you access through KDP. So yes, if you would like to take a KDP ISBN and allow them rights to your book to put it in expanded distribution, I mean, that's great. And for some people, they just say, I just want to write a book. I don't want to sell to bookstores. I just don't care. Yeah. Well, then a KDP ISBN, fine. But if your goal is to sell to bookstores, if your goal is to really be a self-published author who's also going to market your works and continue on with further books, then you need your own ISBNs. And you need both KDP and Ingram Spark. You need them both to be a fully rounded self-published author.
Okay, so that last sentence that you just said is actually going to be dated in a little while because you're talking. You basically left out Createspace out of the equation, but you're talking. And if you've not published a book yet, here's what happens: you have a print book, and if you publish on Amazon, they'll say, okay, publish. Would you like to publish on Kindle as well? So each one of those, the Kindle has its own ISBN that is assigned by Amazon, and I don't think you have a choice in that one. But as far as your print book, you have a Bowker ISBN, or when that is assigned through CreateSpace. And Amazon has always said that you're going to get more exposure by going with an Amazon ISBN. But Keri is telling us that that is not exactly true. And that's very valuable information to have right there. All right. So, Keri, let's talk a little bit more. I think people kind of get a gist of what's going on. And I really recommend looking at newshelves.com. They have so much information on there for published authors that even before you begin to start thinking about writing a book, just look over their website. So, Keri, I have so many questions now just to ask you from what you said. So let me just go back and let's take our listeners into account. Are you a literary agency?
No.
Okay. And what is the difference between you and a literary agency?
A literary agency is going to they're going to work with an author, usually for a percentage of profit, and they're going to try to sell the manuscript to a big publishing house. We don't do that. We help authors market their own books. So in no way, we're not publishers, we are not literary agents, we're not a PR firm. We are helping authors learn how to market their own work so that they can be successful in their own right.
Okay, so you provide a service to authors.
Yeah.
Now, should I say self-published authors, or do you have traditionally published authors that come to you as well?
Occasionally we do. We've worked with some big names over the past year. Most of our authors tend to be either self-published or small publishing houses, just because that is what we excel in. People who are published with large publishing houses, like if they're with HarperCollins, if they're with Penguin, they have people on staff who have all of this information that tell them how to do everything. Self-published authors don't have that, and unfortunately, there's been a wall almost between self-published authors and the information that they need to be successful. And what we've done at New Shelves, and what Amy has done very successfully, is to share that information and to make it public and make it available. So it's important to us that you do know how to create a good cover. And we have, we work with people that know how to do that and do what Amy does on the marketing side. They do it on that side. So like Joel Friedlander is someone who's just very good with book design, and he's got a blog that he shares so much free information for. And I think that's something a lot of self-published authors have been taken advantage of, because they want the information, and people say, oh, well, you have to pay me for this and that. And our goal has really been to share information on a free platform as much as possible. We want you to be successful, and if we can help you and offer a service, great. But we also think that any publisher, any author that has knowledge is a good thing. So we try as much as possible to share free information when it's available.
Well, yeah, that's great. And you guys are really, you have a really nice business there, and I'm not getting anything from them or any promotional consideration, but just from my own experience, I just wish you're like lawyers, and which you actually need now almost before you publish a book, because I published my first book in 2005, and back then, and I had actually paid somebody to publish it for me. I was working over in the Middle East at the time, and it was very simple back then, but now there's just the things that we've talked about. Now, you don't have time to, and so when we're talking about all the time that you have to spend on different projects, you basically need somebody like you just to steer you through the process of people telling you, oh, you have to do this, but it's not really the best advice. So that's a great service that you guys are offering, and I was so impressed when I took a look at your website. So, all right, well, let's talk a little bit more about New Shelves Books. You guys are in New York?
Yeah, we're in upstate New York. We're in Rochester, is where we're based out of. Now, our office is in Rochester, but we actually have clients all over the world. We are currently working with clients in California, Tennessee, Georgia, We really work a lot on the web, and we do all over the world. We rarely have clients actually come into the office, just because the services that we offer aren't exclusive to our area. It's something that a lot of people benefit from, and so our reach is very wide in that retrospect.
So you don't shovel snow also, and along with your other services?
When I can avoid it, I do.
Okay. Well, I'm out in Seattle, so I can make fun of you in that respect. Okay. And you can make fun of our traffic, I'm sure, and our rain. So, all right, Keri. Well, let's talk about if I'm an author. When do I contact you? Should I contact you before I start to write? After I write? When's the best time to contact you?
So this is what I'd say. As you've said a couple times, our website, newshelves.com, is a great resource. There are blogs up, there are videos up that really give you great advice. And again, something Amy has done is she's collaborated with other people like book designers and things to bring authors the best information on how to get things done. So while we don't publish books, we don't design covers, we've gotten a lot of information about who does and who does it fairly and well. And so a lot of that's up on the website. Where we come in really is once your book is just about to launch or it has launched and you're ready to market it. So when your book is ready to go out to bookstores and libraries, that's where we come in. And it's one of my favorite parts of my job is actually being in contact with libraries and bookstores that we've just grown relationships with, so that when we have great books, we can offer them and we can say, hey, this book, I know it's an indie author, it's brand new, but it's fully discounted, it's returnable, and it's a really well done, well edited book. And we can recommend it with confidence. And so that is when we really work with authors, is when they're ready to launch and market their book.
You know, I when you're talking, I keep thinking of this idea. You know, at some point, maybe you or Amy, we could do a podcast. I got 5 books, and I do everything myself. And you can probably help a lot of people out by using maybe one of my books as an example of things that maybe you do want to do, or maybe you don't want to do. And so I could sit here and all day long and ask you different questions, but that might be an idea for a future podcast, is just to take a look at one of my books. Now, my books are I cover diverse topics, but the first books I published were about Oman, which is a country nobody's ever heard of. So you might have given me some advice about, well, nobody's really heard of that country. So would I come to you? I would come to you with my published book. I wouldn't come to you with an idea.
No, I mean, certainly we love to hear from authors all the time, but we are not book creators. So if you've got an idea for a book, great, that's so great, but we don't do anything with ideas. We work with, like I said, either finished or almost finished books. Now, if you bring me a book and you say, I think I'm ready to launch it on Tuesday, I've got my files, I've got my cover, I'm ready to go. I can look at that book and I might say, oh, no, you need to step back. Your cover needs some work. You don't have a PCIP block, things like that. But as far as actually creation of that book, that's not my skill set, and that's not Amy's either. You know what? We've been in the business and we can certainly recognize things that need to be done. We just don't create books. We market them.
Okay, but you will give advice on what is currently selling in the publishing world? Do you do that?
Sure. Sometimes when we have people ask us, and honestly, the hottest topic in books right now is actually crime and mystery and thrillers. And that's a lot of the stuff that people ask us about, and we give them feedback. But also, if you go on the website, Amy and I are constantly putting up articles of current news and what's going on that we think that self-publishers or small publishers and authors would be interested in. So we try to keep everyone in the know. As much as they want to learn, we try to put it out there.
Okay. Do you I assume you don't turn anybody away. Is that correct?
Well, no, that's not true. Sometimes we'll have people bring a book to us and ask to work with us, and honestly, we are quite busy. So we've had to put some holds on work just because we're so busy. And sometimes we'll have a book, and it'll be, let's say it's about holistic dentistry, and it really maybe is not completely finished, and people have questions. I don't know anything about holistic dentistry. So I won't be able to help you. And there are times, too, when someone brings a book to us and it's just not finished. It's not ready to go out in the world. And we'll say, you know what, it's just not ready. But I think you could really benefit from a book designer, from an editor. And, you know, we certainly give recommendations when we can.
Yep. All right, and those are all the recommendations I'm sure you might want to, you would have given me at some point. I ended up editing my book, like my first one I edited like 4 times and kept uploading it. And just because I just kept seeing different, better ways to say things. And I'm just the worst when it comes to writing. And I think that, you know, for you new authors out there, I just want to make sure this idea is out there in case you don't think that what Keri and Amy are doing is important. Just the amount of time that you spend just doing all of this stuff. Like I do a podcast. I have 3 YouTube channels. I do all these different things, and probably I could have just saved time by talking to Amy and to Keri. So, yeah, you guys, your service is invaluable, especially today in the marketing environment, the publishing environment. So, let's say I had a question I was going to ask you, and it slipped my mind. If I come to you, and that does happen a lot. If I come to you and I'm not ready to, what point should I come to you with my book?
When you are confident that it's either published and you just need, let's say you publish a book, you've got it, and you decide you want to get into libraries, but you don't have library contacts. Well, we have mailings where we're currently working on a mailing going out to 10,000 librarians. I mean, that's a lot of work to get those relationships, to get those contacts. And so we'll have authors come to us and say, I really want my book to be in front of librarians. Can I be in your mailing? And we do have actually a sign up right on the page where people can just go in and sign up for a mailing. And then we send it out multiple times to all the libraries across the U.S. We do bookstore mailings with the same thing. So while it doesn't, it's not a replacement for your own personal outreach, it is an avenue to get widespread reach that you may not be able to get. I mean, it's hours and hours of building relationships and getting contact information. And we kind of do, instead of you spending, I don't know, 100 hours trying to pull 3,000 librarian emails, you can just pay us a minimal fee and have it sent out to all of those librarians on your behalf. And we also create a listing. We link it straight to Ingram. We make sure your book's listed correctly. So it's just something that, again, like you said in the beginning, time is money. And sometimes people say, oh, I've got time, no problem. And that's great, but a lot of people don't. And so we offer services that allow authors to be authors but still have a life. So.
Right, and when you send, okay, well, let me ask you about your mailing. That's free?
No, it's not free. Okay. Usually they range around $3.99 on our website. It really depends. Sometimes we'll do smaller mailings or larger mailings, but generally $3.99 is the base price. And it goes out to thousands of librarians, and so for basically $400 or anywhere, it depends. Like I said, sometimes our bookstores or our library, anywhere from $2.99 to $5.99, depending on the mailing. It can go out to thousands of places, and if that's worth your money to not have the time and to be in contact with verified contacts that are interested in buying books, then it's for you.
Right. And if so you're sending this mailer out with a number of other authors, and what's on the mailer? Like, if I'm an author, is my thumbnail of my book going to be on there, and all my information and all that?
Well, what it is you have your book cover in full color is on the mailing, and then we have a little blurb about your book and a buy button at the bottom. So if it's going to bookstores, we're going to have a buy button for Ingram or Baker and Taylor, one of the wholesalers, and they can click on that buy button and be taken directly to where your book is sold at Baker or Taylor or Ingram. So they can just add it to their cart and move on. It's quick and it's easy for them. And it's vetted also. And if it's libraries, then we do a wholesaler like Ingram or Baker and Taylor. Overdrive for ebooks is where librarians generally buy their ebooks. And a surprising amount of libraries are starting to order from Amazon. So we also link straight to Amazon, which is also nice because it shows your reviews. And bookstores don't, obviously they're not checking up on Amazon to see what your reviews are, but libraries do. They like to see that average people are reading your book, that they like your book, and so we link to Amazon also.
Okay, because if you send a letter, you're Joe Schmo or Matt Hines, and you send a letter to a librarian, the chance of that librarian having the time to read it and take it seriously is probably pretty small. But going your route, because you're introducing a bunch of authors, right, and giving information, and you used a great word, vetted. Can you describe vetted? I mean, tell people what you mean by vetted.
Sure. So when we vet a book, anyone can sign up for a mailing. But again, if it's for a bookstore, we're looking for a wholesale discount of 40%, which means that in Ingram Spark, their discount is set for 55%. We are looking for a nice cover. We're looking for a book that is not, I'm sorry, but if your book is from 2005, bookstores don't want it. It's past. So things like that is what we're looking for libraries. Kind of the same thing. We're looking for a professional cover. We're looking for a book that's got content that will be interesting, and that if it's got reviews on Amazon, it's always a plus. And we're looking for things that librarians want to see. Again, it's our name going on it, so we want to make sure that we're bringing them books that are qualified and that they'll be interested in. And occasionally, it's very rare, but occasionally we'll just say, I can't take your money because I don't think your book will sell based on your cover or whatever it is. Because we don't want to just take people's money because, oh, they signed up for a mailing and we're just going to take their money. If I don't think your book's going to sell, we can't be that person that is just in it for the money. We really want people to succeed. And of course, we want to be paid for a job well done. But we want to make sure that we're doing a good job first and foremost.
Keri, can I stop you for just a second there? To all of you new authors out there, and those that don't have that much experience, her sentence, we just don't want to take your money. You're never going to hear that in the publishing world, especially in the self-publishing world. There's a lot of businesses out there that they really don't care. And I've actually, I've been through it all. So I've been there, I've done it, and I've had all these different experiences a lot with a lot of people that would take your money. So, and I'll just give you one example, Keri. And it was when I first published. I have a book called Deceptions of the Ages. It's like right now I cut everything down as much as I could, and I got it down to about 500 pages. Right? So it's about the connections between extraterrestrials, Mormons, or Latter-day Saints, and Freemasons. And it's a big history. It's about history. And when I had somebody publish it, they used such big letters, and the spacing was so big. That thing was 700 pages. And this is somebody that I paid to publish the book for me. 700 pages. Who is going? And the cost was just like $50. And so that's one of the things that you have to watch out for in the publishing world. Is there's all these little tricks that publishers or people who want to publish your book or promote your book will do and they're not in your best interest. So when you have somebody who says, yeah, we're just going to, if we don't like it, if it doesn't meet our standards, we're not going to accept it, then I would go with that person. In fact, I am going with this person. So, or these people, because you're not going to see that much in the publishing world. So that's, Keri, that's really a breath of fresh air to hear that's your philosophy.
Absolutely. Integrity is very important because you're not just dollar signs, you're people and you're authors. And so I do think that's important. And I think that's something that Amy, as she created New Shelves as a company, has stood by. And so it's integral to us to stay true to that.
Yeah. So then I'm going to just, I don't know what that word is, segue. But I'm just going to segue, I guess that's how they use it, into this. Are there companies like yours that are comparable, and why we pretty much have decided on why people would want to choose you, but can you talk about, are there more companies out there like you?
I'm sure other companies like us, but not as good as us. No, I'm kidding. I think that there are certainly other companies out there, but something that you'll see a lot in the publishing world is there are companies that say, we'll just do everything for you, and it's a large fee to do so. And what's popping up more and more is that you have people in the marketing world and in the publishing world that are more specialized. So like we work with Sandy Beckwith, who does a lot of media stuff. She does what we do, except for she does it for media. With Joel Friedlander, as far as book design, we work with Judith Briles, who is a book shepherd. She actually helps people write books. So if you have an idea and you're not, you need help developing it, Judith Briles, she's your girl. So while I wouldn't say that there's someone doing exactly what we do work with a community of people and experts that offer different pieces of the puzzle. And we really work hard to make sure that our community has the same philosophies we do, as far as free information should be free, and we want to help people as much as possible. And if you're going to charge someone for a service, do an amazing job. And so while I wouldn't say that there's another company exactly like ours, there are many other companies that are in the same movement of making publishing possible for individual authors.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so can you just do a quick checklist of what you can offer to an author?
Sure. We do bookstore and library mailings. We do have consultation as well for distribution and marketing. All of this is all right on our website. There's a little shop button. We do Amazon and Facebook ads and review packages, and kind of a little bit of everything. The best response I have is that if you have a question, ask, because if we can't do it, we can probably point you in the right direction. So ask away.
Okay. Can I... Well, okay, so is there a certain genre or a certain type of author that you guys like to work with?
A motivated one. I think it's really important for us to work with authors who are realistic about the publishing world. If you are planning on writing one book and not doing anything else and retiring, it's not going to work. Sadly, I wish it worked that way. No,
man.
I hate the news to you. So that's most important to us, is that authors come to us that are realistic. And if they're not, we usually tell them how it is. And you have to be motivated. I've worked with authors who just say, oh, just market my book. I don't want to do it. And I'll take what I can get. And I have worked with people who say, okay, I need social media. I signed up for Twitter today. What do I need to do? So it's really a pleasure to work with authors who are willing to work for it as much as they want you to work for their success, because we can lead someone on the right path, but it takes the individual person to really be successful. And so all genres are open. We work with some people that are really young. I'm actually working on a book right now with a little boy that's 11 years old, and he's written this book. And we've got much older authors that just need a bookstore mailing. So there's no pinpoint of who we will work with or who we want to work with. The most important thing is that you're committed to a really well done book. If we say that your book, hey, it's just not edited well, you have two types of people. You have the type of person who's going to say, yes, it is, I edited it myself, and I'm done with you.
That's me, right here.
Yeah. And then you're going to have the people who say, okay, well, what do you recommend? And unfortunately, books, as you have said many times, they take a lot of time and they take a lot of care and effort. And it's always nice to work with authors who are willing to learn and who are willing to create something that's really well done. And so we always give the advice that we think is necessary to get there. And some people love that, and some people really stick around. We've got some people who will do our bookstore mailings 3-4 times a year. We have some people who just say, I don't care that much. I sold 3 copies on Amazon. I'm happy. So, to each his own.
All right. So, everybody wants to know, can you tell us a success story? I guess you don't have to say any name, but can you tell about a success story you guys have had?
I think we've had...
They probably wouldn't mind you plugging their book, but anyway.
We probably would. We've had a lot. I know Amy has, she's worked with a lot of more well-known authors than I have, and I won't air her business on here, but we've worked with authors that have sold thousands of copies, and we've worked with authors who haven't. Just recently we helped launch a book, and we're actually in the process of still launching with an author who he went up on Amazon, and less than a month later he's almost got 25 Amazon reviews, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for anyone who's tried to get Amazon reviews and they're not getting them from their grandma and their little sister, they know getting verified Amazon reviews is it's a big deal. And that is what launches people into great sales. And I think the important thing for all authors to realize is that it's very rare that you launch a book and it's an immediate success. It's usually a crawl first, and then if you gain momentum and if you keep at it, you can be a bestseller. And so I think it's just that process.
Okay, well, Keri, I think we're just about to the end of our time. I want to remind everybody before I forget that this will be available on Books in Heinessight on booksinhindsight.com website. Be available on iTunes, Books in Heinessight, and you'll be able to see Keri on YouTube at Books in Heinessight as well. So before you go, Keri, can you just tell us, we talked a lot about this Createspace moving to KDP, but can you tell us what any more things that you see as future trends in the publishing industry that authors might want to be aware of?
Sure. We're noticing 2 big trends. Number one is self-publishing, which we've been talking about. In 2017, over 1 million ISBNs were assigned to self-published books. And a large part of that is the availability from Createspace, Smashwords, Lulu, things like that are just making publishing very available. So self-publishing is on the rise. From 2012, the number of self-published books has gone up 156%. It's huge. So, I mean, that's certainly a trend to notice, is that a lot of people are self-publishing, and it's possible to do it well and to get noticed. And the other thing that we're noticing specifically for 2018 is that digital audiobooks are on the rise. Just in the first quarter, reports are coming in that digital audiobooks are up 38.1%. So, I mean, it's a huge market. In some cases, people are even saying that they are outselling their mass paperbacks with audio, and I think part of that is that people are they're diversifying. They're not just reading ebooks. They're not just reading print books. They're doing a little bit of everything. I can tell you on my way into work, I listened to an audiobook. I got here and I read a chapter in my ebook, and then I picked up a print book, a couple minutes before we got on. So it's diversifying, and audiobook is becoming huge as people have a time crunch. They're using it on their commutes. They're using it while they exercise. So that's something to pay attention to. And certainly you can self-publish your own audiobooks also. There are websites like ACX, which is through Amazon for self-publishing audio. And then there's a new up-and-coming website called Find a Way Voices. And it's kind of the same thing as ACX, where people can go on and collaborate to basically self-publish their audiobooks. And I think that we're going to see the trend just continue on for the rest of 2018 with those digital downloadable audiobooks.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's because people are stuck in traffic, like here in Seattle. And I've had so many people say, well, do you have it on audiobooks? And I say no, and I'm offended because I'm a writer. But no, I've got to go that route as well. So do you guys help out with audiobooks or just...
We just send people, we say, you know what, Find a Way Voices is great. And that's certainly a place that we recommend people. We've had some clients with great success there if they're going to publish an audiobook.
Okay, so it's findawayvoices.com, I assume?
That's correct.
And so that's like a do-it-yourself publishing, because with it's ACX on Amazon. I can't remember.
Yes.
Okay, so with them, you can do it yourself, but they can reject you. So you can submit your whole book, and then they'll tell you, oh no, I heard a fly buzzing in the background, and they'll kick you out. So that might be another route that people want to consider. Well, Keri, I could sit here and talk to you for the rest of the day, but we should probably let our listeners go, and I'd probably let you go. But it's really been a pleasure, and we have learned so much from you, and I'll make sure to put links to everything when we do the final episode, and so that people that are watching on YouTube and whatever else can actually see the links and see them in the descriptions and see the people that we're talking about. So one more time, you said something about Friedlander is your... You said something. Somebody's doing book design.
Yes, Joel Friedlander is known for book design. He's got a blog out that's great.
Okay.
Sandy Beckwith does a lot of media things, and you can just Google her. If you Google her, you will find her. Okay. Judith Briles does book shepherding. And then you've got Amy Collins, myself, and New Shelves for marketing. And certainly, like I said, if you Google any of those names, you will find blogs, you will find interviews. These are really top-notch people who are working to make publishing and books happen for indie authors and for small publishing houses. Well,
Keri, that's awesome. I'm motivated now. I'm ready to get out there and write my next book. Yeah, it's great talking to you. Really a breath of fresh air, because you guys, when you get out there and you've got your book out, it's a really cold and lonely world, and to have people like Keri and Amy out there to help you along, it's really nice. So thanks for being on the show, Keri, and I wish you guys all the luck in the world. I really would like to do a podcast in the future with Amy or yourself, and because there's so much that we haven't even touched as far as publishing. But for now, let's let you go. And this is Books in Hindsight. I'm Matthew Hines, and keep on reading.